Welcome back, everybody, to another week, another episode of the League of Inches podcast, NRL edition. Obviously, it's a Tuesday night, so getting stuck into it. What we're going to do tonight, we've obviously done the ladder prediction a couple of weeks ago for the fan-voted one. Then we did last week a bit of the jerseys, myself and Trav. We've got the crew together now. A couple of things to quickly touch on at the start of this video. So this will hopefully be our crew for a Tuesday night, the live shows. They'll be starting in probably a few weeks once we just get a bit closer, probably at the week of the first trials, things like that. We've still got things like our own ladder predictions and stuff to get through, but hopefully this is the lineup. Obviously that does mean a couple of new faces to, I guess, this show that you'll be used to. Obviously Adam and Jez are no longer part of things, which we want to thank them hugely for everything they did last year. Both just are really busy this year. Jez has some soccer commitments that fall, unfortunately, on a Tuesday night moving forward, so he just can't commit. And Adam has Talking Para, obviously, which is going gangbusters. Credit to him for all his hard work. And their show, I think, is going to be on the same night, sort of crossing over in a way at times. So he just can't commit to doing the show either. So we'll have, you notice, Jesse, Trav, the Supercoach boys will be on as much as possible, I believe, for the live shows. And then Jake Boy, we've got him luckily for 2 shows now moving forward. He'll be doing the Sunday review show with us, and then we'll be doing the Tuesday live show as well. So new lineup, looking good. All the shirts and stuff, we'll get it going. So hopefully you enjoy that. And again, thank you to the boys that were there. Mika as well, who often was on the live show as well. He'll be doing a bit of behind the scenes work for us moving forward. Again, work commitments for him is just ridiculous. His roster is crazy. So unfortunately, he'll be not be able to be part of the show moving forward for now. But we'll see what can maybe happen in the down the track. Secondly, I just want to thank, obviously, our Legends group. It's been going off the last week or two. A lot of content has been put into that, a lot of Supercoach stuff as well. It's not just Supercoach. We do talk NRL as well. So it's not just for the Supercoach players out there, but there's definitely some great rewards for Supercoaches. Now, every week we're going to shout out to any of the new members. What we'll do this week is shout out to all the members so far that's part of it. So we've got just 29 members at the moment, which has grown double within a week. So it's gone crazy. Again, some of the benefits is you get double entries into prize giveaways. You get 10% off merch, things like that. So exclusive content, you'll get Jesse and Trav will look into your Supercoach teams for you, give you some personal advice, things like that. Just straight to the point, ask questions whenever you feel the need. So shout out to Tim, Cliff, Ant Ren, Dennis, Andrew, Jason, Benjamin, James, Jackie, Brent, Mark, TJ, Michael, Chris, Steve, Pete, Jason, Bradley, Shane, Juan, Brett, Peter, Dane, Samantha, Lara. And then obviously myself, Trav, and Jesse are part of things as well. That was a mouthful. Thank you for bearing with me. Moving forward, hopefully it's just as many in a week-to-week basis. Again, it's only $2.99 per month, less than a coffee, and it's literally a one-off payment every month. So go ahead, go help support us. And we'll get into it there. Now, one final thing is obviously the Supercoach app is now live. Our Supercoach episode is tomorrow night. But just a heads up, probably by the time we get there, all our comps will be full, cash comps that is. If you are listening to this, you're a Supercoach player, make sure you reach out to the page or check the status that's out there today with all the league codes. There's tipping, there's Supercoach, there's head-to-heads, there's the overall comp. Make sure if you want to be part of any of that, there's cash comps and free comps. Just hit the message the page or quickly look at the comments and see if it's still open or not. I believe already majority of them are full. We will look to go one more free head-to-head comp, but that will be it. I've got too many comps going. I can't fill up too many more, unfortunately. But that's it, boys. Big day, huge day actually. I've almost got a technology headache today. It's been ridiculously busy. Let's go, Jakey boy first. Haven't spoken to you for a while. How's things, mate? How was your break? It's good to see you back. You're looking fresh. You're looking clean. And that picture you got at the moment is pristine.
Oh, he's rhymed it and everything. Yeah, no, my break was great, nice and long because apparently teachers never work. So, I'm pretty happy about that. It was great to get to go home and see family and stuff. I just got back up today, actually, probably about an hour ago. I just drove a good, about 7 hours to get home. So I'm a bit knackered, but you know what? Worth it. Let's go. It was a great time. Good to see everyone. It was awesome.
Trav, How's things, mate? I believe almost that time of year where work is back into play for yourself as well. But yeah, how was your day?
Yeah, not too bad. Just tying up a few loose ends, getting ready with the classroom. Class is back next week. School all return tomorrow. Queensland either returns tomorrow or Thursday, depending on what school's made decisions. So yeah, we've got it all going. I'm all right. I'm just back to work. Yeah. It's hard to want to return when you've been off since the 13th of December.
And just a bit of background for everyone, let you in a little bit. Travis in charge of all our draft competitions. There's obviously 5 comps which you've seen, and he has been bogged down the last day or so, especially this morning since the app was opened, organising everything. So he's been a very busy boy. Jesse, you're in heaven. Okay, we've told our chat a couple of times that you're on basically a bender, a Supercoach bender that is, where he doesn't sleep for the first about 3 days when the Supercoach app actually opens. He's that excited. How's things?
Yeah, good. Well, you're not wrong, actually, because I saw the app refresh last night. It would have been roughly around midnight or so, and I was up for a couple of hours. That was 11. Jeez.
11 o'clock in Queensland. So, yeah, midnight for you.
It was about midnight, yeah. And I went on just naturally, as I do, just went on there just to clear my team, and it was live. And I was like, holy crap. Me and Trav both jumped in the group chat, pretty much said the app's live at the same time. And I was up for a couple of hours into the AMs. Playing with it all, and then I had a busy day today too at work. It was flat out, and every moment I was just in the background thinking, geez, I want to get on and have a look at these. It's like player ownership stuff. I want to start playing with the app a bit more now that it's fully opened, and thinking of team names. I'm trying to compile a list of team names together, and I think I've got a winner. But yeah, the Legends group will see it very soon anyway, because I'll put it to a poll either way. But yeah, no, it's good. Obviously, the app's back, and yeah, I'm raring for it. So let's go.
Let's go, indeed. How good is it? Look, let's get into it. So, no fancy slideshows this week, unfortunately. You're going to have to look at our fancy-looking mugs, I'll say. I won't put us down too much so far. We'll just be talking hardcore footy. We're going to go over this minor premiership debate, which has been huge. Obviously, we have touched on this a couple of times in the podcast. I've posted a couple of questions towards other podcasts and pages as well. I know Bloke mentioned it last week. I actually asked them the question. And then we've put that post up. Got a lot of good feedback about that. So we're going to get into that and rip and tear and just our actual thoughts put out there. It was part of our pub talk. We haven't got around to that just yet because we've just been flat out. So we won't cover the whole pub talk. We'll cover a bit of that, which was the minor premiers. And then we're just going to keep you up to date with all that's happened in the rugby league world, basically over the last couple of weeks. Any really important signing news and things like that. Rumours we'll talk about and how that looks like it'll play out. So first up, the minor premiership debate. What should be the prize moving forward? Currently, it's 200K. I think we've mentioned a couple of times, and I've put in the post and stuff, that when you look at it and actually unfold it all, it's a 27-week competition, basically, where you have to navigate through injuries, state of origin, a grueling campaign, probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, sporting competitions in the world, in my opinion, with just the brutality that's involved with it. And we're saying that a fair prize is 200K. I don't really buy it. And I'm not just talking money here either. Obviously, I think the money definitely needs to improve. But when you compare apples to apples, the grand final winner, yes, I know Australian culture. We love the grand finals. It's a 4-week competition where for a 27-week competition, you're literally winning peanuts at the moment. So let's hear it, boys. Trav, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts around this one? I know you've had a lot of thoughts. Time to hear yours.
Well, the game's in a record-breaking area. The game's in the best place it's been financially ever. I think the game just put out. Well, today I was reading the 2023 annual report just to try and get some figures and see where it was sitting, because the 2024 one hasn't come out just yet. I think they'll release it in the next month or two. But I was just having a look at that. So at the end of 2023, the NRL made $58 million that they put back in their pocket, right? So they had a surplus of $58 million. They made $700 million. So that's how they made that. And then once they did their expenses and what they did, it turned out to be $58 million. And so that's still giving money to the clubs. It's still providing financials for everything they do. They produced a profit of $58 million, and then all they do is they give to the thing that's their product $200,000 after the season's over, where they have the ability to put all their sponsors in, put every marketing employee they can in their options to be able to make 700 million, and they give them 200K. I think it's rubbish. Like, I get Australia and the way that we go. We pride ourselves on the premiership or the grand final or whatever you want to say in the different sports we have in Australia, and that's what we do and that's what we breathe. And fair enough, right? That's right. But there's 27 rounds in what we do here as a minor, and we call it a minor premier, right? So it's the minor premier. That's the name of it. I didn't name that. Like they did. So it's still a premier, yeah. So after 27 rounds, they've got a winner on that as clear, and you give them 200K. I think it needs to change. I think their priorities are wrong. I actually think they need to give the grand final winner more. I think they need to give every finals team more money. So it should be scaled as it goes. And that can be a pub talk as to where I think they should spend that money, and how they do that. But yeah, I think every finals team should be scaled up. The grand final team should get a hell of a lot more money for winning, and the minor premier should be pretty significantly higher. I think it should be at a minimum $1 million, a minimum.
Jakey boy, welcome back. Get straight into it. I'll hit you. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, look, I mean, I'm going to agree in a sense with what Trav said. It definitely needs to be more. You've got to. Your team that comes first is typically the team that was the most exciting through the year, or the most like dominant, or whatever. Like, I suppose you can take the Panthers for the last sort of. Actually, no, it was Storm last year, wasn't it? Sorry, my bad. Actually, it was Storm last year. So it's usually the team that's most dominant through the year, and they don't always get the biscuits at the end. You know what I mean? Like, they don't always get that grand final win, as we saw last year. Sorry, Trav. But basically, like, you've got a top 30 squad, and I'd imagine they're not paying. Like, they're not going to just give the whole 200,000 to the players. That's definitely not happening at clubs. So the players aren't seeing even that full amount, and that would be less than 10,000 each for that 27 round. Anyway, so in and of itself, that's already like nothing for the players. The club, basically, what's their incentive to come first, other than the fact that they are seated in the best place for the finals? Like, I understand that is also a reward in and of itself, but they need to be rewarded with something more than just that for their hard work, for sure. $1 million seems fair to me. I mean, possibly more, definitely, but like, I'd say it should at least be a starting point. I agree with that, Trev, for sure. So you should be rewarding your team that basically was the most exciting or the best throughout the year, because they may not end up that way.
It's funny when people bring up the whole, they get the home final and stuff. I keep telling them and reminding them, so does second place. So you're effectively giving second place the same rewards as first. So for mine, it's not a reward at all.
So does fifth,
you're not getting.
So does third, so does fourth. Like, everyone gets a home final.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for mine a fair reward and actually deserved. Like, I just find it embarrassing at the moment. Jesse, what are your thoughts around this and what the minor premiers should be getting?
Yeah, well, look, I've always said that the minor prem is the harder thing to win. You know what I mean? It's a longer competition. It's the consistent run. You've obviously got Origin contend with. So the bigger squads and the better squads usually have depleted squads at the same time. And if they're still able to hold up and still win the comp, it's got to be a reward in itself. But yeah, it's got to be minimum 7 figures. It's abysmal 200 grand. Like, 200 grand is going to get swallowed up by the club, and they're not even going to notice it, considering half the wages these guys are on anyway. It's not even a bloody drop in the ocean for them. So, financially, there has to be a massive incentive for them, obviously. There's got to be more than that, though, because, like, we're in a salary cap thing. So it's like, cool, you can give them all the money, you can reward the players, and you can give them bonuses and the like, but, like, so what? Like, what comes of it as a club side of things? You can't better the side too much with that amount of money in general. It's really just, congratulations, here's a bit of pocket money for them. You mentioned the top 4, they get a home game. It's like, well, it's not much of a, it's not a bonus for first place, because fourth will get the same sort of bonus too. There's no difference unless there's a fast track into the semis or something, or into the, if you're going to push them straight up, to grand final contention, that in itself, it's like, look, they kind of deserve that realistically, but at the same time, it doesn't do much for the competition. So, they have to work a way around it, but I think if they're going to do that, the structure of finals has to change as a whole, and there has to be more of an incentive as first, as opposed to the top 4. First needs to be an outlier. But then, the same discussion. It's like, we're going to make the better teams even better. and then they're going to get an easier run at the end of it. And what's going to happen to the teams at the bottom? Because really, we've seen it for the last 5 years. It's Penrith or Melbourne. And it's daylight after that. So it's like, okay, you're going to incentivize these two boys to do even better. It's like, what's going to happen to the other 15 teams or 16 soon come?
The gap just gets wider.
It just gets further apart. So then you've got, the teams down the bottom with absolutely no chance, and you're making the better teams even stronger, which, to be fair, they're going to do that themselves because they're better. But, it's a tricky one, man. It's tricky. And the first thing you have to go to is just give them more money because it's the easiest answer to say. But there's got to be more than that. It's just in the current setup for the NRL, I don't see how they could change it too much more than just a big financial bump.
Yeah. It's a hard debate because, like you said, people then say if you try and say, they'll get a discount in their salary cap moving forward or something like the year after, things like that, they'll go, you're strengthening. But at the same time, like, I feel like they deserve to be rewarded though. Like, they deserve the advantage. If they just won that, like, why should we not help them or reward them because other teams aren't up to it? Like, for instance, we're going to say the Storm and the Tigers from last year deserve the same sort of rewards in a way, or like keep them on the same level playing field. No, like, force the Tigers to get better, in my opinion. It is a strange one. It's a tough one in a salary cap era sport. I understand that, but it just feels like there should. We keep talking money, but it definitely feels like there should be more than money at play here. There should just be something that, I don't know, it just should be. There's probably something that someone's screaming at their car now or while they're listening. And please message the page if you have any great ideas, but it's got to be something.
It's the whole equality of opportunity versus outcome. So it's like you're going to give everyone the same opportunity to get this incentive. Like, everyone has the same. They're on the same level playing field. They've all got the same salary cap to work with. They've all got that. That's the blanket rule for everyone. But if you're looking for the equality of the outcome, it's like, well, you can't expect the Tigers and the Storm to be the same team. Because if you're going to change the rule tomorrow in this such a dominant era of this sport where these two teams are so clear, right now, if you change that, it's going to make these two teams even further apart. Where if this was something that was brought in prior, which you can't go back and change anyway because we're here now, then there might be a different opportunity. But yeah, it's if you change it immediately in this current status of it, I just don't see how the bottom teams are even going to have a chance going forward to compete.
Look, you have to change it eventually. So if it's changed and they decide to, it's got to be changed. I don't think it makes a difference whether you do it now, do it in the middle of the year, do it at the end of the year, do it at Christmas time. Like, I think it's all the same. I disagree with the incentive or incentivizing or giving the clubs that win an advantage over the other team. So anything that can be deemed as an advantage over the other teams, I don't think should happen.
I agree.
I think that it should be an incentive to go straight to the players, that goes straight to the facility or straight to the staff, and they need to be able to account for it, right? I gave bloody Jerome Hughes $100,000, bang, that's it, and account for it, have a sheet. But it shouldn't be, here's $1 million to chuck to your facility, or here's $1 million and then now spend it on extra coaches, or any of that sort of stuff. I think shouldn't be allowed. So anything to inset or to further advantage, I think should not be. Happily and adamantly is the word I'm bloody looking for. Sorry, guys. Adamantly disagree with that. Anything to give an advantage.
Yeah. What about this one? Then? It's only potentially a small one, but a reward that can go into the next season is you let them choose their buyers for that year. So you might have the Storm, for instance, or Penrith, for that matter, who have a lot of Origin contingent. They might be able to then choose whether it's before Origin or after Origin. They can have their buyer selected. They might choose to go 3 within that 6 to 8 week period, which might seem funny to a lot, but if it means they don't get impacted too much by Origin period.
Is that any rules goes? Like, I can literally pick 3 games in a row that I want to buy, or like
the last 3.
Yeah, I was going to say the last 3. You
can't have them you can't have them in a row. You can't go stupid and go. You can't have 3 weeks off. Yeah,
it's not a bad idea though.
Yeah,
like if it's organized well enough, it's not a bad idea.
See, because straight away I started thinking, I'll take the first 3 weeks off, or I'll take the last 3 weeks off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, so there has to be some rules about it, but I like it. I do like that. Like, yeah, I want to. I think round 6 would be a great time, and then I'm the Melbourne Storm, so I want to push my bye over Origin or the week after Origin. Sorry, the week before Origins, when 5 or 6 of my stars have to leave and go to camp. Like, I'll take those buys there. Like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, but I still don't think that's enough. It's not enough to reward the team that came first after 27 rounds.
Well, all the other major comps. The minor prem, you talk about all these long-term running competitions. It's just money. They just get a big old pay packet, and it's like, sweet, congratulations. You can just do whatever you want with it. Yeah, and it works. It's the easiest way around it. They just pay them a shitload, but they're not getting that. So it's like, well, you have to start looking at alternatives. But I reckon just pay the man. You made so much money. I didn't realize they made that much coin, and they're giving them peanuts. It's just rude.
Well, that was, yeah. So then there's I posted and spoke about this at last year, and I can't remember quite the numbers, but there's the TV revenue share that the NRL gives back to the clubs. It was like only, I think I remember it was like around the 30, late 20s even, percentage wise. Like it's still such a big disparity of what the NRL does into what they provide to their clubs, their players. Just doesn't make sense when that's the product, right? The reason why that's there is because these guys are doing what they're doing. Yes, I mean, obviously they've got to be marketed. They need to be put in the pedestal. You've got to get the TV. There's all of that stuff for that to be a product. But these are the players. Like, the reason why this is here is because this is what we watch. So it's the disparity just doesn't make sense. And $58 million, right? So in the annual plan in the 2023 that they did, annual report that they showed, and it's public knowledge. I just Googled it and found it. It's just off the NRL.com website. That's also accounting for what they put back into the Indigenous programs, school programs, early NRL kids programs, and all of that. So it's all accounting for all the things that they've done. They've just made $58 million. Awesome. We'll do something with it, right?
How about the club that wins Minor Premiership can pick a charity, and then the NRL can donate a crap ton of money to that charity? That'd be great. So it doesn't benefit the club at all, but it's great for charity.
There'd be such a conflict of interest there, I reckon. I can just
how much is going
dodgy shit happen with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the blanket
very
of
good
charity.
Very, very good sentiment. But I think at the end of the day, we can all agree.
Folks definitely do turn up on people's driveway.
The Storm supporter said that. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree, and I think majority of what we've seen so far that have commented to the page and stuff like that, or message the page, the money definitely needs to go up. Like, that's insulting where it currently stands, and hopefully the NRL is looking into it. Hopefully there is some kind of announcement imminent, it feels like. Hopefully they've listened to us or read our status, and if you haven't yet, make sure you message the page or comment on it. The post was on Sunday, so go back a little bit, go and have your say on that post as well. We'll get back to you, or be part of that Legends group. Go in there to say you've listened to the podcast, this is your thoughts, and we'll discuss it once again. So moving on, we'll go into some of the news now that's happened throughout the last couple of weeks, but we'll start on some of the more recent ones. So the first one off the top, massive news obviously in the rugby league world, is Dylan Brown. That dreadful contract that he's had signed and Parramatta agreed to at the time, and shock horror, we've now got to this stage where everyone knew we'll get into last year. Everyone's up in arms about it. No idea why. It's in the contract. We knew it was coming. The manager's basically doing his job as well, and people are trying to shoot him down, which is crazy in itself as well. Para fans, you just need to calm down a little bit, please. just chill with this, because it's actually getting a little bit embarrassing at times with some of the carry-on some of you have. The manager hasn't done anything at fault here, from my opinion. Like, this is how I see it. He's doing his job. He has a job to do for his client, and he's going out to do it. He's emailed clubs. If I was Dylan Brown and my manager hadn't emailed all the clubs to just see what was out there, what could happen, I'd be going at my manager going, mate, you're sacked, you're gone. So please take that into consideration. It's his job. He's not doing anything illegal. He's gone about it the right way. He's obviously pissed off because it was leaked to the media within about 2 minutes of him emailing, which is quite funny. And then he's obviously after that emailed again to say, I'm not happy about this, and that got leaked. So it's been a leaker on all this. So it's been quite funny to watch. But at the moment, Dylan Brown has obviously that clause in his contract that he can basically leave the club at this stage. I think it's every year from next year, unless that contract changes. If somehow Riles can get into him and keep
There's
him.
only two. There's only two exit ramps. This is one, and there's one more. That's it.
Oh, I've heard different to that, but okay.
I'll look it up in a second, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. So, Jake, I throw to you first. You're the Para fan. It's the easy question is, will he leave? If you think he will leave, talk to us about where you think he'll go.
That's not an easy question at all. That's not an easy question at all because I don't know what he's going to do.
What are you thinking?
You know what? I know what I want to happen is I want him to stay. You know what? The Eels have stuck by him after he had that incident. You know, we all know what happened, but you know, the Eels stuck by him and they stuck by him in a big way. They've gone, you know, here's this massive contract for you. We're putting our faith in you as part of the future of this club, kind of thing. And I just think, honestly, it's his manager's job to go and put emails out, whatever, and that's fine. But what I will say is that if Dylan Brown chooses to leave unless it's an offer that, you know, and one of us looks at it and goes like, wow, you probably couldn't refuse that. Like, it's just unbelievable. He's doing wrong by the Eels for leaving if he does. I really think that. I do. Because I understand that he has that player option in his contract. He signed and we put that out there, and that's bad management. I'm totally with that. But with the amount that we've stuck by him and the amount he's on right now is about 900,000. 900,000 for until 2031. He'll be 31 years of age. That was from what? When did he sign that? 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2022. Yeah. That's a lot of money. That's not some small amount of money for a player who has not been proven as a consistent game-winning player, and he's being sold as this franchise player. But realistically, he showed he can't lead a team on his own. You know, he's a second fiddle player at best. If another team wants to throw over a few $1 million at it, over $1 million at him, then what are you going to do? I just think if he decides to leave for something that isn't that big of an upgrade, I actually think he's doing wrong by the club personally. You know, that's just my opinion on that. But that's just because they stuck by him after the incident and everything that he's done, and from a young age, he's been there since he was 16. I just think we've thrown enough money at him. We shouldn't throw any more. If the manager's trying to get an upgraded contract or something, I don't want to give him any more money. That's it. Where he's at now is it. Or if he wants to leave, let him go.
I love it. This is your opinion. This is what you're on here for, and I love it. So, Jesse, I'm going to throw to you next because one of the clubs he is being rumoured to quite heavily, and they're apparently the red hot favourite if he does decide to leave, is the Sydney Roosters, your beloved team. I think everyone by now knows that. Any newcomers, yes, Jesse's a Rooster supporter. To be honest, he probably supports Supercoach more than his own team. But when he has to choose an NRL team, it's the Roosters. But fun fact, he went to more Bulldogs games last year than his own team. So who knows with Jesse at the moment? We're a bit all over the shop with him trying to work him out. But talk to us about your thoughts. Sam Walker, Dylan Brown. That's not a bad halves combination.
I love it. I think he will leave. I don't know if it'll be this season or not, but it depends on how many times he can get out, obviously. But I genuinely think he will, and I don't think he's done wrong by the club. I think the club's kind of done wrong by him in a way because he's been there for a long time. He's been there since 2019. He's done a lot for him. They obviously made a grand final. They lost. Last year, you can kind of leave as a bit of an outlier. Sorry, Joel. Because everyone was gone. Everyone was injured. They sacked the coach. There was obviously no direction. He was the only one out there that actually looked like he wanted to play and try for the club. So I can't say that he's done wrong by the club. Out of everyone in that side, he looks like the only one that actually cared. So I think when it comes down to it, it's like, look, his manager's done a good thing for him because he obviously saw the writing on the wall long term. And I think he's got to look after himself. I think if he wants to, succeed, he's a young player still. He's still got a fair few years left in him. I just don't see him succeeding at the Eels, and it's not because he won't succeed. I just don't think, sorry boys, I don't think the Eels will succeed him. So it's just, if he wants to chase the success and join the Roosters, good on him. I don't blame him. Any player that wants to do that, you can't knock them. It's where they want to go. They want to win. You go to the clubs that win traditionally. So,
can I ask you a question, Jesse?
Sure.
Which position on the field do you feel like is the most influential?
The most influential?
Yeah, in a game, to win a game. If you had to pick a position on the field, which one wins you games?
It's a halfback.
Okay, right. Next in line after that?
Probably the fullback.
Right. Okay. Do you consider the halves equal? Like roughly, like they both do equally half a job.
What the half to the 5'8"?
Yeah, very similar. Not too
necessarily.
different. How
No.
different would you say the role is?
Well, Jesus, daylight. To be fair,
Yeah.
look at bloody Hines and Moylan. Like, you can't tell me they were the same player when they were on the field together. It's completely different. It's completely different. You've got to have one complement the other. To be fair, when you look at Dylan Brown's game, you're right. I wouldn't say he's a second fiddle player. He's definitely a quality player. But you got to play with a good partner. Cleary and Luai are the perfect example. They complement each other's game.
And so this is what I'm getting to here. You haven't let me finish.
Sorry.
This is exactly what I was trying to get to.
Go.
Is that last year, like you just said, Moses was out all season. Yeah. He was out all season. And so Dylan had to step up on his own, and I get that he couldn't do that. That's fine. But he does have a quality halves partner there. I don't know what you're saying. He doesn't have a quality halves partner. He's got Mitchell Moses. He's up there with the best at the moment.
And when they play together, they're incredible as a partnership.
So then why did you say that we're not going to succeed? That's what I'm confused about. Because you've got two – you're just saying they're incredible as half partner. As long as they're both playing, what's the issue?
Yeah. Well, where's the success been for the Eels then?
Yeah. I think a big thing here, just to quickly to butt in first, I'm the most passionate Para fan that you can get. And people often question me. I know a lot of Para fans do and go, oh, are you even a true fan? Because I actually sometimes just say it how it is. And I just don't like to sugarcoat things if it doesn't need to be sugarcoated. There's no doubt in my mind we've gone backwards quite rapidly over 2 years. Dylan Brown's still quite a young player with the best years of football ahead of him. If I was him, it's just natural to say, yes, on paper with Moses is his partner, it's a great partnership, but you still got to look around. The forward pack's still got massive question marks, in my opinion. It has been horrible for almost 2 years now and steamrolled regularly. Unfortunately, Moses hasn't got his body right for 2 years almost now. And, Origin has been awesome and he showed his true potential, but we need to see him on the field for the basically the year. Backline's definitely improved this year with some strike signings, which is really exciting. But I just think if I was Dylan Brown, as much as it hurts me, I would definitely be looking. I wouldn't be going to someone like a Dragons outfit. I know the Dolphins are rumored for him as well and are quite heavily in pursuit. As much of as a rugby league fan, that excites me. I don't think that would be the move for him either. If he was to leave, it's the Warriors for mine as well. I know that's him going home. There's probably a sentimental sort of value there for him. I don't think that's the right fit for him yet. Maybe later on down the track in his career, he can go back with family and stuff like that. The Roosters seem like that team where if he says to his manager, get me a 2 to 3 year deal with there where I can go hard at the competition. For mine, even though this year they don't look great on paper because of some injuries, I think the Roosters are a mile ahead of the Eels, unfortunately, at the moment when it comes to premiership race.
Oh, hands down.
Fair enough.
I think so. And even in the state that they're in. But there's a lot to come from the Eels. That's the thing. There's a lot of unknowns still. And I think in the back of Dylan Brown's mind, he's like, am I going to hang around for these unknowns when, he's got the best to come? So, yeah, as a player, I'd be definitely weighing up my options for sure.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, because in saying that, there is some great young talent coming through at the Eels, and that sentiment that I just said then, that can quickly close that gap quite rapidly over this year as well. Like if Iongi comes on and he's the freak that a lot of people are saying he is, straight away you go, hang on, they've actually got some really good spine here. They've got hands. If he comes on and leaps about like I feel like he actually will this year, very quality hooker, then you all of a sudden you go, oh, hang on, Parramatta are starting to get into that sort of premiership. We still have huge concerns over the forward pack. And for a halves pairing, that's a huge thing that they do look at when they look at their futures and stuff like that. Trav, unfortunately, being pretty quiet. We've watched a few little things going on. Obviously, I just mentioned a few of the teams that he's been rumoured to. Anything that you'd like to add around this Dylan Brown situation?
Oh, I think he's on the way. Like you wouldn't have your manager literally email every club and say, here's a dude who's open. Yeah. Come back to me and tell me whether you're free or not. Like I just think that just screams to me like I want out and I'm ready to go. So yeah, I think he's gone. I reckon Union is also screaming out to him. And money talks, right? Manu just went to the Union again, and he went up to Japan. Money talks, right? So I reckon he'll do that. There's a couple of things, Jake, that I'm eager to hear, right? So, you're saying that because the club stuck by him, that he needs to stay.
Not the entire contract, I wouldn't say.
No, but essentially you're saying that because the club stuck by him through an incident and we're paying him $900,000 a year, that we need to. He owes the club, right? That's basically what you said. Correct that if I'm wrong.
I could argue. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, so, but as a club, you just sign Addo Carr after the rubbish that happened with him last year, and that's okay. For a club, it's manageable that you are allowed to, for a club, the club did the right thing by Gutho and let him go, kind of thing. Like these are not these are not apples with apples, right? They're different, but you've got to think these things too. Like Dylan Brown doesn't owe shit to the club, really, when you think about it, and the club doesn't owe him nothing. Like the club's paying him $900,000. They've given him a contract and said you're with us till 2031. But here's all these options that you've got. And the Parramatta have been sitting there for the last 12 months, 18 months, trying to get rid of all these clauses out of every contract. They haven't been able to get out of Brown's. So neither one owes anything, I don't think. And I think the clubs will do whatever the hell the clubs want to do. And I think the player needs to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And this is one of them, right? So I don't like that saying of because of the incident, because of that, he owes the club and has to stay.
Can I respond to that one?
Yeah. No,
I do. All right, well, I'll just agree. Yes. No, you know what? The funny thing is, I actually do agree with you in the sense that, like, the club obviously wouldn't have done what they did around him if he was a worse player than he is. If we think about it that way, like when he had that incident, if he was a worse player than he is, the club probably wouldn't have stuck around him as hard as they did. Does that seem like a fair statement?
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to a bit, and I don't want to. It's very different, but I just want to draw some similarities to the Ezra Mam situation of like because he's a class player. No, not even remotely.
I know where you're trying to go.
Yeah. I'm saying because he's such a class player, like they're almost like, and we've put so much work into him. We're happy to sort of stick by you and take the risk of doing that kind of thing, and I get that. That being said, though, they could have still given him the boot and just gone, you know what, that's pretty, abysmal from you, and done that, and they didn't. I get what you're saying in the sense that they've given him the player options and that is bad management. Like I said, I never said it wasn't, but I do think he was given 2 player options, and I think with the new coach coming in, personally, and I know I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm a touch biased on this, but I'd like to see him at least get to the second clause of his contract and have a crack at, give a chance to the new coach and the new systems coming in. I'm not saying he technically owes it. It's just what I'd like to see.
The final bit on this, I feel like mentioning is him and Brad Arthur were very, very close. Let's not sugarcoat that. That relationship was really tight. Obviously, Brad's no longer at the club. It's now Jason Rolls. It's a different coach, different structure, different style, all that jazz. So I feel like the next 2 to 3 months will be huge when it comes to this. I don't think there'll be an immediate decision. I think this might then now go into a bit of a lull period now that the whole circus has started with all the emails and stuff. I think Dylan will probably give Rolls a little bit of time just to see what his style is and how it suits, I guess, the club and himself as well. You got players like Moses, Lomax, Iongi, if you can come into it, Adokar, if you can get back into some old form. So there's some reasons to stay, I guess, but at the same time, and you mentioned this right at the start, Jake, and it's a very valid point. He hasn't done anything in the last 2 years to warrant the price tag he's on. So there's also a small part of me that's going, in a way, that frees us up $900K as a Para fan. We could go to market and get someone else that looks the goods and can actually be a bit more consistent. Now, not saying he's been putting in 2 out of 10 performances. He's still been solid, especially in a defensive sort of wise, but yeah, there's so many ways you can go with this. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Moving forward, the next one, Ronaldo Mulatalo was apparently shopped around to the Broncos. Now, he went to social media after all this was announced and posted around and all that sort of jazz to basically say it was made up sort of thing. But we've seen this in the past, and then in 2 to 3 months' time, he signs with the Broncos. So we've seen players do this. They try and put the flame out, but somehow it's gotten out. Let's just say for now, there is some sort of truth to this. So for mine, this looks like there must be an end to either Stags or Cobbo's career at the Broncos, but coming up at the end of the year. Obviously, they're both up. The Broncos apparently don't have enough cash to have both of them stay on, which to me suggests they're also going to get Mulatalo a bit cheaper than one of these players, which I'm a bit surprised about because I don't know. Mulatalo, I feel like might be on par, at least on par with probably these players. So who would you keep? Let's say Mulatalo signs with the Broncos next year, boys. Who are we keeping? Stags or Cobbo? Jesse, who you got?
Well, I would probably say that you'd be getting Mulatalo to replace Cobbo on the wing. Otherwise, it wouldn't make too much sense to keep vice versa. You know what I mean? It's position for position kind of thing. So, and realistically, I think Cobbo sort of would demand a bit more money than Stags would in a way as well. So you could probably get away with spending a bit more. Yeah, like there's a lot more for, I think, Cobbo's game in general. Stags is a centre. He's a class centre. But again, like, is that really what they need? With Mulatalo is going to fill the void with. So, look, Mulatalo's on about 500-ish K, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know how much, it frees up for him and overall, especially with one of those guys leaving, you'd definitely be able to put it in there. But he's just I don't know. I can't see him in the Broncos. There's something about it that just doesn't hit the eye right. Maybe they do like their rocks and diamonds kind of players, and their wingers score tries, and that's pretty much it. So his quality, like, he can freaking score a try, and he'll be right up there with him. And I think in that side too, he'd probably do quite well. But yeah, I just don't see how this really plays out.
Trav, what are you thinking? Stags or Cobbo for you?
Cobbo.
Going?
Yeah, would have to. I think he'd just demand more money because of his flexibility, and versatility. In terms of what you can get out of him, Stags is a gun. Like, he's a very good center, but you're not replacing Stags with Mulatalo. I mean, it's a bit different. Like what you were saying, Jesse. I think Cobbo definitely gone. I think Stags is where he's at. I think Stags' wage at the moment is around 800K. I think he'll still be about that if he goes somewhere else. So, I mean, and that's reported. I think Cobbo's around 700, but Cobbo will be sitting there asking for a hell of a lot more than that in his next deal. We all called that the Broncos will be calling this once they signed Ben Hunt. We all knew they were in trouble for money, yet then Ben Hunt appears. Now they're talking around Mulatalo's going to appear, and so it has to be even worse. I mean, I just don't, and I don't think Mulatalo, I think Mulatalo is worth more than 500K. So, and if you're going to poach him from the Sharks, you're going to have to pay for him because I like Mulatalo, and I think he's a very good player, and he offers lots of versatility. He's a try-scoring machine. But he's also a marketable dude too. Like, what he does and how he goes about things is market, right? Which is what Brisbane needs. That's why they like Stags, because Stags is a machine, right? You take the shirt off and everyone freaking loves Stags, right? Cobbo is just a marketable superstar.
They're not allowed to do that anymore. They're not allowed to take the shirts off anymore. They get in trouble.
Oh, yeah, apparently. Yeah, that's a good call, eh? So, yeah, look, it's an odd one. I'm like Jesse. I find it really odd. I just don't know. I just don't know how they can afford Mulatalo, even if they were to lose Stags and Cobbo. It'd be interesting to see their money. I feel like they're in a bit of trouble, the Bronx, and I just don't get how Mulatalo is going to fit in there. But, yeah, Cobbo to answer that question.
I also believe Mulatalo grew up in, like, the southwest Brisbane sort of area. So, anyone thinking, why would he go up to Brisbane? I actually think he has family and stuff up here. So, Jake, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I fully agree. I think that Cobbo just makes the most sense. Like, they already said that they were potentially thinking about sort of jog on kind of thing. Like earlier, I'm pretty sure I heard that he doesn't have the best attitude at training and stuff like that. It's from the different times you hear that every now and then. Like, that pops up, and you're like, Madge isn't going to accept that. No, Madge isn't going to accept any poor training and stuff like that. No, I can't. I'm not at the training session, so I don't know what he trains like or anything. But Stags just makes the more sense for them to keep. Mulatalo is almost a straight swap, like it just onto the wing there. And you're right, actually. I think it was Jesse that said this. Is I think he would succeed at that club pretty well because they use their wingers a lot for like a lot of stuff they do. They get out to their wingers pretty well. They like to isolate as well. They like to try and isolate their winger to winger, and he's perfect for that because he's big enough that you can go straight over someone if he needs to. He's fast enough you can go around him if he needs to as well. So, I think if it actually wouldn't be a bad signing from the Broncos, and especially did Corey Oates retire yet, or is he still kicking on for a bit?
Surely he's gone.
He's retired. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it kind of feels like a good replacement actually for Corey Oates too. So I don't know. But you're right as well, Trav, that I think they need to pay a lot more for him than 500k because he's worth more than that. Although he's a winger, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be getting too much more, especially if the Broncos are in salary cap issues.
Yeah.
And I think there's one or two other players that might be getting shopped around, or clubs are nipping at their heels to get. Someone like a Blake Moser will be hugely popular at the moment for a number of clubs out there now. That Ben Hunt signing, just for a second, Stags who reported 800k. I'll tell you what, I know what Broncos fans think, but I want a bit more out of him for that. I think that's at the moment overs. I think he's just not in games enough to be on that sort of money.
It's reported 800k, so that was NRL.com reported that, but in April last year. But also, like, he's 26 years old. Cobbo's reported 700k, and he's 22. So
yeah,
I know where I'd be putting my money, to be honest. And I like Stags, but I know where I'd be putting.
That's what I was about to go at. I'd actually probably be looking to go Cobbo back to a centre. I know he didn't do well there last year. He probably was one of his quieter years.
He did poorly.
He didn't do poorly, but compared to his winger years, I think he wasn't as great. But in saying that as well, whenever he played fullback past years, he's actually killed that role as well. But he's obviously not going to be a fullback at the Broncos anytime soon. Next on the list, Matty Lodge. So apparently, I've got no idea what's happening with this story because Matt Lodge, everywhere around the world, the game was talking, signed a train and trial deal with the Dragons, or did he? Because then 2 days later, I think it was on radio with Buzz Rothfield, Coach Shane Flanagan denied this, said it wasn't the case, didn't sign. So I currently have no idea where this is at. I don't know what to say, but I feel like in a way, the train and trial deal was put out there, teased to fans to get like a reaction. I'm going to imagine the reaction was very, very poor from the Dragons fans, and probably up to about 90% saying I'll almost hand my membership in. Obviously that stigma's still around Matt Lodge, whether people believe that should be moved on or not, but that's a different argument for a different day. I feel like now it's come back, they've got the bad feedback and they've gone, this probably isn't a great idea and not worth the hassle. Trav, before I get myself in any trouble, what do you think?
This just screams stupidity from all parts. Like, I just think it's so stupid. Like, I don't even understand the whole marketing ploy. Like, from what you were just saying then, if you're going to market bloody the signing of Ilias a little bit more, or market that you've just got Valentine Holmes and do something like around his friggin' NFL days and what he did there. Don't market bloody Matt Lodge on a train and trial deal. Like, freaking hell. Like, it's just stupidity. This whole thing's stupidity. Like, Flanagan's come out and said, no, we didn't do it. Matt Lodge has come out and said, no, I didn't sign that. Like, so what the friggin' hell? Like, it's just this is just stupid. I can't believe we're wasting minutes listening to this and talking about this rubbish.
Dead story.
Sorry. Well, Jake or Jesse, do you just want to jump in? Do you have anything to add so we can move on from Matt Lodge? Because he is 28. I think he's only 28 still. So he has got technically a couple of years to go in the NRL, but
that's shocking to me. I thought he was in his 30s for sure.
He looks like
but I think he's late 20s, I believe.
Well, if he plays for two more clubs, I believe that means he'll have played for the
29.
most.
Yeah.
Record books.
Yeah, record books. So you know what? I hope he goes. I hope he goes somewhere, just not the Eels. So, just hope he goes somewhere that he hasn't played before, just so I can see him break a record.
There's something about the Dragons and having questionable forwards. They don't need more.
No, they definitely don't need more questionable forwards. How did he go? I watched him at Manly. I didn't think he was like bad, but you don't even notice him on the field. Like,
it's more
just
off
what comes with it. Yeah, it's just what comes with him. I feel like it's still carrying around for him, and probably rightly so. With what he did, obviously horrible what it was, and
they're just crying out for forwards. That's the thing. You look at the stocks they've got in the props and stuff, and it's just like, God, you know what? If anyone could do with Matt Lodge, it's probably the Dragons, but I still wouldn't recommend it.
100%. Still on the Dragons. Obviously, 2 weeks ago now, I think it was Gutho and Cook were named co-captains. Question I want to ask you boys is this. It's the first year at the club. Do you like this? Do you like when clubs name players who have literally just turned up as captains? Jake, fire away from this one.
we did talk about this a little while ago, and I remember saying I didn't see anyone else who they could pick, like who had the leadership skills, other than maybe Jack DeBellin was the other option I think we popped up with, but like there was no one else. What I don't like about this isn't that they're people who are coming across from a different team, because they've showed they have leadership skills in the other teams that they played for. So I don't think that's an issue necessarily. And especially they're two players who at training would train the house down, especially in fitness and stuff, and be leaders of the pack. So they actually set example. One thing, what I don't like about it is that they're co-captains. So I think two players coming in from different systems into a new club, if something starts to go wrong, what it can do is divide the playing group. Some people might prefer Cookie as someone to go to talk to, and someone he might prefer Gutho kind of thing, and it might be a bit divisive, kind of like can fracture the playing group a little bit. But in terms of leadership, he's picked the right two, and I hope it works for him or whatever. But it's one or the other. I think personally is what I would do. I never have liked co-captaincy. I just think one person should be the captain of the club.
Jesse, take this wherever you want.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to have to say I quite agree with you, Jake. I haven't done that much this pod, to be fair, so it's been it's good to hear. But no, honestly,
Only happened in the off season between you two.
No, we good. He just flogged me in FIFA once, and that's enough.
Just once, he's never forgiven me.
No, no. So look, like I'm more so in the thing is like, look, I don't really like the idea of bringing in a new player and then making them the captain. It just seems a bit funny to the whole group, but it depends on the leadership qualities of the group they have at the time when they bring those players in. And, to Jake's point, exactly right. They really were screaming out for a leader and they didn't have any. I can't go through the list and look at anyone in there that I'm like, oh, that's the guy that's going to lead this club. That's already there. So the two they've chosen, yeah, fair enough. Leadership quality through the roof, 100%. But again, you made the point. There's two of them, and I didn't think about it that way. I never really looked at it as a part of like the divisive kind of which one are you going to go to kind of thing. I think the co-captaincy works with very established clubs. When you look at like a Cleary-Yo partnership as a captain, you think, geez, these guys know what they're doing. So you can pick any one of them, you're going to get the same response. But the players they've chosen as the captains are definitely the most suitable captains for the club. End of, really.
Trav, give us your wisdom.
Right, let's go. I could completely agree, Jake. That's why I said wait till I speak, because I totally and utterly agree with what you said. You look at that list, you're right. DeBellin probably looks to me like he could be a decent captain option. Jaden Sewer, I think, from what I've heard and what I've researched over the last 12 months, he's an Origin bloke as well, and what he does in Origin camp last year and the way he presented himself last year sort of talks around a captain. But would you put him as captain this year? No. So I think that I think it's a no-brainer for what the Dragons did to make Gutho and Cook captain. I don't mind. I don't like split captains. I'm pretty old school. I like the captain, one person, vice captain, and thing. That's my sort of belief. But in this situation, because they're both, such guns, such leadership experience, big positions that they're going to play, like they're probably two of your main positions that the way the Dragons are going to have to play this year with the roster that they've got and the makeup that they've got. They really rely on these two. I have no problem with them making co-captain this year at all. And then in the past, if we have a look, it's not unknown, and it's not uncommon that clubs make them a captain in their first year. Like, look at what Crichton just did in 2024 for the Bulldogs. Like, there you can go other options. Plus, you go out of the sports. Like, there's AFL, NBA, NFL. Like, there's players coming across that haven't even walked in the door, and a named captain wouldn't even know where the toilet is, right? But they're the captain at it, because it's just the way it is. Like, if you're a leader, you're a leader. If you hold the standard of, when you turn up to train and you're ready to go, you're there 15, 20 minutes, an hour early. You're there last. You leave last. Like, there's standards that are captain material. It doesn't matter how long you've been at a club for, in my opinion.
Yeah, look. On paper, in theory, it doesn't sit well with me just because they're brand new. But then when you peel back the layers, as you've all done and rightly explained, it sort of does make sense. Jack DeBellin, unfortunately, wouldn't play the minutes I think that probably a captain does. And even if he was selected, you'd need someone else with him. Maybe either Gutho or Cook, you choose one of them. Maybe that might have been the other way to go about it, have DeBellin with one of those, so it just looks a little bit better to the naked eye. And there's that passionate Dragons man that's been there for a number of years now, almost lived and breathed that club. And then you got one of those big senior figures who have huge respect throughout the game, have that leadership qualities, obviously. So that might have been the other way I would have potentially gone about it. That's all really I've got to add apart from whatever you guys have all said. So hopefully it works out well for the Dragons, I guess. A lot riding on these players. The other risk to it is, and they probably covered their asses a little bit. Obviously, both of those players potentially looking on the back end of their careers, and that's obviously when injuries that do hit. So one of them might be out for a period of time. The other one steps up and he's the sole captain, things like that. So it does sort of cover him there as well. Now, I think we mentioned the Leo Thompson stuff. Obviously, that was our last podcast, I think, from last year. Now, a week or so after that, we were off air. The Knights came out saying they were looking to sign, or there was a report saying the Knights are looking to sign Tommy Hazelwood for 2026 and beyond. So it was from Code Sports. We were linked with, I think, the Daily Telegraph. What are we thinking, boys? Do we think Leo Thompson replacement is Mr. Hazelton, Jesse?
I love Tom Hazelton. I reckon he's a gun of a prop. Yeah, definitely. Like, they've got a damaging guy in Thompson, and they're going to replace him with big, bold, damaging fella in Hazelton. I really like that for them. If they can get that over the line, I think they're going to do a really, really good thing with him. So I cannot knock that move at all. I think with AFB signing, obviously Hazelton's probably going to be starting to look around, because he had a brief stint last year and he got a few starting runs and he scored a few tries as well. So he definitely deserves something more. But yeah, obviously minutes rotation at the Sharks are so low. They don't really seem to ever get a great deal. So if you can tee that up, I think it'd be beneficial for both of them.
Yeah. Trav?
Love it. Yeah, I'm also agree with Jesse. I'm a big fan of Hazelton. I think what he did last year and how he shored up that Sharks line just was enormous and so underrated for what he did. And I know that we gave him a good shout out in the end of year review, Joel, with Hazelton for the Sharks and what he had. Leo Thompson's younger. Do I think he's better? I think he is better than Hazelton. I think they're quite different. They're very different. I'm not sure you're not replacing like for like, but you are going to get a lot of work out of Hazelton, more than what you're going to get out of Thompson in my feel. I think Thompson's a freak, and I can't believe that the Knights just let him walk like that. But I like the signing for Hazelton.
Jake, take us away. Take us home before we get to questions.
Sorry.
You joke.
I got to resound the same things. I really think that Hazelton is a freak of a player. Like, I think he's an absolute weapon. Obviously, I think the Knights would have been better off getting him across while they still had Leo Thompson. They'd have a much better forward back. But you know what? As a replacement, he's great. Like, they're going to do a very similar job. The one thing I'd say is probably different. I'd say in terms of maybe work ethic, like just the consistency. Like, Leo Thompson's probably a little bit of a higher work rate in a game. Like, he can sort of do a bit extra stuff that props don't typically maybe do, or like your classic sort of props. But Hazelton is like your traditional, knock people over, big bopper forward, and I just think he does a great job of it. But he can score some tries too. Like, he's got a try in him. He scored a few last year. Yeah, he's got a try in him too, which is what you want. So, if they're not going to be able to score using their halves, they might as well score using their props, right?
He's meat and potatoes with extra sauce, that bloke.
Love that saying, don't you, Jesse? Absolutely.
It's the best. It's straight up.
I was waiting for it with him.
Yeah, it defines him. Truly. So good.
I was waiting for someone to say it. But yeah, no, if they can, I think it's definitely, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's an upgrade. I just think it's someone that might suit the Knights' hard edge sort of style. They're just up and down at the moment while they've got O'Brien as their coach. Whether that continues on to whenever they did get Hazelton to their team, I'm not too sure. But not a bad option. I think he'd be far less money than Leo Thompson would cost as well at the moment. So that's also a handy for the Knights, where they can start to perhaps go a bit more deeper into their half stock and get a couple of better sort of players perhaps. So anyway, now let's get to some question time. So this is the first installment of the tour over the week. So thanks to TC Coolers who have come on board once again. Already given out a few of these. This is our third week now, the Coolers. everyone has got them so far absolutely love them. So very good quality. They look great, and you also just have a bit of LOI at home with you while you're having a cold one. Either hopefully watching us on the big screen. We've had a few pictures of those sent in so far, which we absolutely love. You can also buy them as well. If you want to buy them, just message the page. If you don't think you like me, you're not very lucky, you never win anything, just come ahead and message the page. I'll get one sent out to you for sure. So with the questions, what I'll do, so we don't go for another 14 hours, I'll ask the question. I'll just ask it to one of you, and then the other two, while they're listening to the answer, if they have something to quickly add in, one of them can just jump in, and then we'll just go from that. So again, there's a few of the Legends group members that are in here, ask some questions. They get double entries. Thanks for doing that towards these lovely coolers. So Instagram first, Mr_Soul4Man. Trav, this one's for you because this is right down your alley. Should we award clubs for developing their players by discounting their contract cap amount by 50% to allow clubs that have a good development program to keep their players? However, I would cap this to only one junior per year. Just thinking of Penrith, that would keep all of their team together, making the competition uncompetitive. Well, I think you've almost answered that in yourself, but it's a hard balance. Trav, take it away.
No, I wouldn't. And I don't think it's fair. Clubs are different. The situation of where they are is different. Like, have a look at Melbourne. You're in Victoria, which is predominantly AFL, where there's few and far between players. Your development zone is not going to work for them. So it doesn't work. Like, the Roosters. Does the Roosters have a clear? Does the Roosters have a clear but they don't. And people have a go at them because they keep stealing. Oh, they can't develop, but it's because of the border, right, and where they are, and they're on Bondi, and there's, it's all rich people. It's not development zone. It's not people everywhere, right? So you just can't do it. Have a look at the Cowboys up north. Like, Townsville's a city of I actually don't know, maybe just over 100K, maybe. I don't know, actually. Sorry, I should have probably researched that beforehand. But there's just it doesn't work. So no, I don't agree. I don't think you should.
I won't ask Jesse because his team doesn't have juniors, as we just established, so he doesn't understand this chat. Jake, anything to add to what Travis said? Any response?
No, I was just going to say, it's not necessarily the worst idea, but it can't be what it was. Like, it can't be what was said in that question. Like, having some sort of benefit to trying to develop juniors isn't necessarily the worst idea. It just needs to be done in a better way than that.
I think 50% is way too much. Like,
it's huge. That's insane.
Like 15% or something, maybe you can work with that. I do think there needs to be a bit of reward there for some of these clubs with juniors. I don't think it's fair that they lose bulk amounts, but 50% would, they would literally, if Penrith to dominate the comp now for the next 15 years, no kidding. So it's, you couldn't do it. Next one, James_Beckman. Jesse, this one's actually for you. How many more years does Trent Robinson get leniency for? Been 7 years since a grand final, and they haven't looked like playing in one since either.
Who else would we get? Right now,
I heard Brett Arthur's free.
Yeah, good one. Dylan Brown's available too.
Package.
That's good. Package deal.
Yeah. At least two more, no question, and then you start looking, because I just don't see where you would go from him. I think he's the best they've got, and it's the best they have. And I think anyone that would go to right now wouldn't be less of, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't really know what I'm looking for. I just think that they got a bit of a safety net there with him, and I think it's a void of unknown. It's like you're going to go into a new era of the Roosters with a side that's not really set up for it right now. I think they're going to have a very hard time in the next couple of years. And I think even still in the position they're in, if Teddy's gone and if Teddy leaves at the same time Trent does, it's like, we got some things going on that year. So. And that could be quite soon too. That almost could coincide together with each other. So it just depends. But then again, it's like everyone's looking at Ponga at that period of time too. So there's a lot of things to come. But the only thing that they're not got anything in the works for is who's going to replace Trent Robinson in the future. So He could be there for a long, long time.
Boyd Cordner.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I don't know.
Or
Just
would it
tossing
say?
something out there.
Like something
Yeah, I don't know.
different.
I'm just tossing. I reckon it'd be something like that.
It would
It'd be a
have to
past
be-
player.
It would have to be a pass
Matty
player. I can
King,
see that
Matt
happen.
King. There was a bit of talk around him for Origin, and he's a very smart man apparently. So he's been in the Roosters system a long time.
I don't get this talk though. What the hell's Trent Robinson done wrong?
Yeah, exactly
was
right. Like,
He hasn't won a premiership over the greatest franchise, the greatest dynasty that the NRL's seen, and yet he hasn't won one of them. Right? Come on now.
Not only that,
is the Storm going to go and fire Craig Bellamy because we didn't like? Come on.
Yes.
Like, what has he done wrong?
Please
he hasn't done anything wrong.
Not only that though, is the last few years it feels like the Roosters always have just a stack of injuries every year, like, and they're consistently making the top 8 every time.
Yeah.
Like, that's impressive, to be completely honest. If you actually look at it that way, it's probably more like, I don't know why you'd even consider it. Like, he's done nothing wrong. If you can have his full strength side out on the field the whole time, you're in there. Like this last year, you guys did a great job.
yeah,
You're right.
the expectation is very high.
People are asking the question because they haven't signed anyone for 2025. It's the first time in freaking forever. Like, maybe the sombrero has finally been put away and it's not there anymore. But
The Bulldogs
like,
have it now.
They haven't done so. The Bulldogs do. Like,
True.
but they've still got Robson. All of these dudes are still like, they've re-signed Walker. So like the two guys or a dude retired. Like, what's he actually done wrong? And there's still lots of talk about other blokes coming. So, like, it's still a destination. And it's a destination because not only of the club, but because of him. You put someone else in and you're not getting these guys.
Yep.
I'll go on the other side of the fence. I'm going to go on James's side here. I understand the question somewhat, but I do get what Jess is saying in terms of who else is there. Unless you're going to sign Bennett or Bellamy, is there a point in upgrading or moving him on? That's the sticky situation there. Now, in my opinion, if you talk about 7 years, the roster that the Roosters have had on paper should have at least got one premiership in that space. Now, I get the whole dynasty talk and the Panthers and the Storm and stuff like that. 100% get it. I also understand the Roosters have had a couple of years with some horrid injury runs as well and not great timing when it comes to that towards the back end of the year. But when you look at it, you definitely feel like there should have been, you look at some of their teams over the last couple of years and their rosters and stuff, there should have been probably one. They're looking at this year going, okay, yeah, we are a bit behind, and they're probably kicking themselves a little bit that they haven't got one up on the board. Are they good enough to beat Penrith on their day in those couple of years? I don't know. If they got their full-strength team out there, there's a lot of guns that they might have turned up on one day and been able to get it done. Not too sure. Robinson's a great coach, quality coach, but I do think the hard thing for him, there's going to be question marks this year because they're not going to do as well as I think many people have the Roosters normally right up there. They're not going to be that naturally. So a lot's going to depend on who they sign to give their fans hope for next year and how that looks. So he'll get at least 2 more years, in my opinion. Then it's about trying to work in who's going to be the next coach.
Yep.
But anyway,
That's fair.
now Facebook. So Supercoach question, that's tomorrow night. Chris, I won't do the last name because he's a subscriber, so he's a part of the Legends group. Will the Sharks go one better in the NRLW, or will I have to wait till their 50th season? A little bit of a pot shot. He is a Sharkies fan, by the way, guys, so he's having a pot shot at his own club there. I hope for your sake you don't have to wait 50 years for the NRLW Premiership. You've got a great side. Once again, I think there's a couple of other really good sides on paper, like your Broncos, your Titans. Both. I was actually having a chat to our NRLW guy, Cameron, yesterday about a similar topic. He actually said the Eels as well have a decent side this year coming in. Their spine's really good. So he said there's a couple of teams up there right in amongst it. He did mention the Sharks sort of as one of those teams as well. But just with that new team, the Bulldogs, some of the talent has been stretched thin. So not too sure, but definitely the Broncos and Titans seem like the front runners early. Boys, anything to add for that one? NRLW is not your strong point, I understand.
Yeah, not my strong point.
I want to get more into it this year, I reckon.
It's going to be a big year. Yeah, and again, we are covering a lot more. You've seen some of the posts. There'll be a lot more closer to when the season does kick off. But if you are an NRLW watcher, you love it, make sure you are following us on our social media pages. We'll cover all the squads, all that signing news, everything. So I'll I'll do this one tonight because it's kind of super coach, but it's a bit funny. So it'll break up some things. So Jason, another subscriber. Thank you, brother. Double entries. What's the funniest super coach name you have come across? Now we might have to warn people before you might say things. Here's one, which I absolutely lost it when I heard this. Inter Milan. Had me a giggle.
That's a classic soccer one. Yeah.
That's quality. Nothing off the top of my head is probably appropriate for this podcast right now. Jesse, you're the resident with this sort of stuff. Now, you currently have one that is absolutely ace, but I don't want you to put that out there yet. No, okay. I think we wait till at least a Supercoach podcast, and we perhaps let the legends know first. So give them a little bit, let them know your potential team name, and then we'll let the general followers know. But anything else that sticks out to you? You've had some classics as well.
I change my team name every year, and I always go for the Belters. Hey, it's so good. So my first team that I started with was our Trider, which won me a draft comp, and it was real successful. And it's the team name that I used actually when I had my good, really good super coach finish. So that was a good one. I had Jack DeBellin's legal team was also a good team name that I ran with.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that was a classic. I have had more buys than Mardi Gras when the buys got introduced, when the Dolphins come through. So there's a few classics out there. But again, it's always like, where's the line that you have to draw before it's sort of inappropriate in case you actually win the comp and they have to say your name out loud. So you've got to keep that in the back of my mind, especially doing these two. I can't, extend that reach too far, but I change my team name every single year in every comp that I'm in. And, word come out for the draft comp that I have to stick with one now, and I don't know what to choose. I'm stuck. I can't stick with a forever team name. I change them like undies. So yeah,
you don't change them much either. So
no, man.
I always love the old Payne Haas references and stuff. So I always get a good giggle out of those. Jake, do you have any that point out to you?
Yeah, last year one of my mates, Lucas, he did Tex Toys,
Sex Toys.
Tex Toys, Sex Toys. That was a classic.
That is a goldie.
That was goldie. I wish I could remember. I know I've seen heaps of good ones. I just can't think of it even right now. But yeah, that was the best one, I suppose. I've seen.
I had Hasbulla last year.
Nice.
in the draft.
There was a couple of classic ones in our overall comp last year. I remember looking at the ladder, and there was a couple that were high up as well. I need to go back and look at that if I can, because there was a couple of beauties on this. I wish I did a bit of research before we jumped on. Trav, anything that points out to
you? Nothing really. I don't look at team names, to be honest. I've had the same name ever since I started. I just keep it like that. It is what it is. Yeah, so nothing's really popped up. I did do a bit of a Google before the podcast to find out some. There's heaps that I've been able to find that I thought are hilarious in the NFL and NBA using some of those guys, but there's no one that's really put anything together for the NRL. So, I haven't been able to find anything that I truly like.
Well, let us know, guys, if you have any crackers out there, whether it's your team name this year or something in the past, message the page, let us know. We will feature it tomorrow night's episode if it's a beauty. We'll keep this little thing going. Next one is a Supercoach question. Shannon McIntyre. Hey, guys, I have seen a few announcements from clubs around leadership structures over the past few weeks. And wanted to get your thoughts. How many players do you think is too many when it comes to a leadership group? Do you think having multiple captains or vice captains works, or does it risk diluting the authority and clarity of leadership on and off the field? We already sort of touched on this with the Dragons chat, I believe, but anyone want to tackle this and add anything further to what we did say with the Dragons stuff?
Yeah, I'd say one thing it's interesting is you say leadership group, and a few teams have sort of had that, and you had the Tigers had this big leadership group, and that worked really, really well because they came last. And then there was it's funny because then you also have the Panthers who have a bit of a bigger leadership group kind of thing, and they have a few different people who are your leaders, and it does work, like you said before. I think it was Trav. It was one of you two. I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, but. It can work, but I think I'm a classic man. I like the just your one person in charge is is the person you go to.
Yeah, that's fair. We just seen Ola Kawatu got announced as like the 4th vice captain or something for Manly. It's like, well, props to him. He's obviously done a cracker job, but what is the 4th going to do? And when's he going to come into the play? It's like you got to have the first guy out, the next 3 got to be gone. So it's like a badge of honor for the player, but as far as it goes authority-wise, I don't really think they get to use it.
They might as well just put out a full list and just go like, this is your top dog, and then just keep going every player down. Then you can have, who's really in the bottom rung of like the ladder, like of the team. And just you don't tell anyone what to do. You shut up and do your job.
It's an odd one because I love to obviously give recognition to those, like the Ola Kawatu one, give recognition to where he's come. But at the same time, you're almost in a way, I feel like the club just keep it in-house, keep it private if it's going to be like a group and stuff, because I think majority of the time, any leadership groups, it doesn't go well. Like we always have that. We go back to the West Tigers a few years ago when they had about 6 of them, I think, and it was just a laughing stock throughout the year. They basically just won the wooden spoon and nothing worked. So I definitely understand that, the diluting side of things, and maybe the clash when it comes to the leadership, and different captains want to spread different sort of messages and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I personally don't really like him. I think it just should be one captain. He takes the job. I'm a bit old school with that sort of stuff, and then away you go. That way, you at least know the one person to go to for anything. There's no mix. There's no Chinese whispers. There's no stuff like that. I just feel like a leadership group or something like that, or twin captaincies, you're just encouraging a bit of drama in your club, and I just feel like you may as well start from the start and avoid that.
Are any of you fans of? Sorry, are any of you fans of? You go.
Oh, whatever happened to the vice captain? What's wrong with that bloody name? Like, why can't we just have? What's wrong with the captain and a vice captain? Right? That's just. Why are we now having 4 or 5 different captains?
If your captain goes off, your vice captain steps up. That's as simple as that.
Exactly right, right? Like it's the same. It doesn't make sense. In the NFL, right, they've got an offensive captain and a defensive captain, but that's because they're basically 2 different teams in the one team coming through. Like, so you can have that. But in this one, just one guy playing of your 17 that goes on, beats him up, comes off, leads the asks the questions to the ref, does all that sort of stuff. With 4 or 5 captains, I don't like at all. I think it just becomes, there's no clarity around it. It becomes messy. The message is not the same. Like, have fun in an area. It's tough getting us 4 who have a chat to have the same message. Like, have fun trying to get 4 or 5 dudes who play different positions in the NRL with the same bloody message to do the same. Like, it's just, there's no clarity around it. And he's right. Shannon's right. Like, it is. It's the novelty of it's losing. The nostalgia of being a captain is lost when you've got too much of it.
Are any of you a fan? Any of you a fan of a forward and a back captain? That's what I just want to ask. Like having a forward captain and a back captain. Any of you a fan of that?
I don't think you have to go out of the way to do it. If it naturally falls into place, like looking back at the Roosters, if they had Freddie and Fitzgibbon at the same time, like they're obviously both inspirational leaders for the club, and that's just natural. But you wouldn't then go ahead and just make it happen. Like, for instance, Parra this year, you wouldn't just say Moses and Lane for the sake of it. Paulo. Like, you wouldn't make these people just for the sake of going, we need to have a forward or we need to have a back. Like, for mine, your halfback is your leader on the field, in my opinion. Like, he's the one that's talking the most, and probably fullback. They're the 2 that basically get your team going. Whether they have the official C on their name on the field, I think it's a little bit different. Obviously, the captain for mine is an off-field thing. It keeps the club intact. You go to the events and stuff. You talk. So you got to get someone like a Dale Finucane when he was there. He was perfect for it. He was great to go, and it wouldn't impact his style of play either. You know that he'd go and do a presentation, and the night before he'd be there. He'd play and do an 8 out of 10 game, where you don't want to give it to players like Ponga, for instance. Like, I know, he is cat, so it's hard to get to use that example. But for mine, he's not a natural leader, in my opinion. Like, it takes away from his style, and you'd have, for mine, someone like a Jaden Bradley or something from the Knights who would feel like he's that sort of leader. He'd go to the events and rock up and be good there. So,
well, that's why they made him. That's why they've done the dual captain. Obviously, you get your superstar and then have that. But there's a difference between being a captain or leader of a club and being a leader on field, right? So, and running your club and shoring you up and doing those things. There's not too many bloody Nathan Clearys in the world that can be a captain and do the things that he does, but also do everything on the field like he does too. It doesn't happen. Like, you look at the halfback for a Jerome Hughes, and it's only in the last 12 months where Jerome Hughes has really found his voice and started to do that. But yet he's a good halfback. Like there's a difference between being a leader on field and shoring up what you're doing, and the leader of a club.
Yeah, I agree. All right, another super coach, boys. I'm telling you, the super coach one tomorrow night is a cracker. Mark Brown, with the NRL trying to crack it in the USA, do you think there is any other country where NRL would be a hit? Here we go.
That's a good question, actually.
What are we thinking? I'm going to go Jesse first.
Oh, geez. Just, I would have to say, what are the countries as tough as Australia when it comes to the footy? Like, you can see, like, the American game. I don't know how they'll translate over here. France as well. You know, you just look at the union teams, the rugby side of things. It's like they've got some freaking weapons for sure. But I don't know. NRL's a bit of a different game. I haven't watched, to be fair, so I don't really feel like I've got very much of a valid say.
Just think of a country. Yeah. What do you think a country out there suits rugby league? What about the crazy Russians?
Oh,
the Russians.
That's who came to mind for me first as well. That's crazy.
Straight up murderers.
Stole my thunder. I had this. I read this question today. I was all ready for that, and you stole my thunder.
Oh, well, you can take the reins, mate. Yeah, that would be terrifying. That would be terrifying. Dagestani rugby players.
Oh,
wrestling bears all week.
They'd be good at the wrestle. They'd be the new Melbourne Storm. Trav, what do you got?
Oh, look, it's a joke. I don't think Russia. I mean, Russia would be good, but I don't think
they'd be physical.
Go there. I don't really. No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any other country that has the financial backing, the facilities, and that to manage it properly with what they've done in Vegas and what's happened in America. And I think America works because they put it in Vegas. It's still really a small game in the grand scheme of things. You could potentially probably take it to a Japan, a China, potentially because of, the numbers and the soccer fields there and that, and there's rugby union is big in Japan. But I don't know if you're going to get what you're going to get from Vegas. I don't reckon you will. I think Vegas is like a party, right? It's a week of party fun. It's a whole different thing with the game. With the end of the week, it's a couple of games of rugby. So, yeah, I don't think at this point in time the game's worth going anywhere else. I'm skeptical of America still. I think it's worked last year. It'll be interesting to see what it works over this year and the next year. I think it worked last year because it was the first time. It was something different.
Jake, what do you got? You've had some thinking time.
You know what? I actually was going to go with Japan until Trav jumped in there first. But I think just because they have union over there, whether they're like, the best at it or anything, but because they have union over there, they can translate across a bit for them. But it's, like he said as well, it isn't going to be like it is at Vegas. It's not the same thing. But the question itself was just like, what would be successful? Like, where would it hit off somewhere else? Wouldn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could hit off in Japan because they like a bit of rugby over there, but also they have Japan specifically has such a diverse sporting culture. They basically play everything that it would hit off, but it would also just be like a niche sport at the same time because it's just overwhelmed by so many other things. So any country where there's just like maybe like a European country where they just have like real big dudes, like that'd be
Bosnia.
Bosnia, yeah.
Somewhere in the mountains.
Uzbekistan. What? That's not right.
Yeah, any stand country, you'd be terrified.
Yeah, stand country.
Viking territory.
Yeah.
Scotland.
Scotland. Norway. That's what I was trying to say. Norway. That's
Norway.
All the way to
perfect.
Nowhere.
Norway.
You don't think of anywhere?
Yeah, nowhere.
I'm locking in South Africa. I reckon it's obviously taken New Zealand a long time, but we keep hearing more and more that the rugby league is not taking over the country. There's still massive, huge support for rugby union over there, but I definitely think with a bit of time, maybe South Africa, a union-heavy country at the moment, perhaps they could come over. We've seen over the past some of those absolute guns that come out of that rugby union outfit there. Imagine them coming into it. That'd be absolutely fantastic. I think it would be a huge hit. Last one for the night. TJ, another subscriber. Thank you very much. double entries again. Are the Broncos a genuine premiership threat this year?
Yes.
Simply give me a yes or no and maybe a 2-second spiel. Go, Jake.
Oh, I think they're a pack that has quality, like in their forward pack and in their halves and in their outside backs. They just anyone who has a quality players can be a premiership threat. Anyone can be any team could be a premiership threat, but I think they are. I think they're a genuine. They're definitely in the top 8.
Unless you call it the Newcastle Knights, but anyway. Jesse?
Huge.
No, we love you, Knights fans. We love you. I've just got to keep solid with my prediction. That's all.
I think they do better than last year because it's not hard to. But to win a premiership, I just don't see it changing. Besides the little duopoly at the moment, unfortunately, and they have got a good side. Madge has got them there. We're expecting a lot from him. The backs, Walsh, if he can get consistent enough, and the halves, they got a plethora of them now to choose from. A couple of oldies.
Yeah, the Eels and the Tigers going to be hard to beat at the top.
They've got reverse grid.
They're back. These two are back.
Nah, I'm going to say no. Just short answer. Not for me. Not
Trav?
To answer the question, premiership contender, no. Is their team good? Yes, on paper. Like you can go through from 1 to 17 easy, and there's plenty of dudes that you'll take that you'll happily have on your team. I think their pack lets them down a little bit. I think they're very much reliant on what Carrigan does. It'll be interesting to see what Ricky, is it Willison, where they go. Haas, yeah. So I think, yeah, and Haas. I think. Yeah, I'm just not sold on the rest of their pack and the reliance they've got on at least Carrigan and Haas. But and I'm not sure they've got enough scoring try potential on their wings to finish. I do like them; they're good players, but I'm just not sure about them just yet. So do I think they're contenders? No. Do I think they're going to be tough to beat? Hell yes. Will they be finals? Yeah, I think they're in top 8.
My answer is no. I don't think they'll be premiership contenders. I don't think they're up there with the Panthers or the Storm, in my honest opinion. I think that squad's gotten away with a lot over the last few years. A change of coach is going to shake them up a lot. It will definitely have its impact and probably work at the start. It's a long season. It's a long season for those style of players who have been used to getting away with a lot to be in line for that whole time. I just feel like something's going to happen. Something's going to crack. Something's going to divide that playing group, and it could have a negative effect. Throw into effect what happens with Ezra Mam and when he comes back and how the crowds, first of all, react and then how that impacts that team as well. I definitely think they're a top 8 team. I just think there's going to be a few things that too many question marks to be an actual premiership contender. So, again, shout out to TC Coolers. That's the lot of questions done and dusted. Again, thank you to everyone. The questions are getting more and more and more in depth as well. So we love that. There'll be more Supercoach stuff tomorrow night. The Supercoach episode, Jesse, what teams is it? We're back to 3 now. We're not doing 4 anymore. We're going 3.
We are. So, top of my head, I believe we've got the Knights, we've got the Cowboys, and we've got the Roosters.
Look out.
We better, because that's what I've prepared for.
There you go.
That's some
juicy
teams there. And as I say, guys, we're going to 3. So it's still, we're going to be as detailed as we have been, just cutting it back now to 3 for the next couple of weeks, just so it sort of fits in a bit better. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you, boys, very much for jumping on. Keen as to rip in tomorrow night once again for that. Get your questions in if you listen to this and if you want to ask any Supercoach related questions. One final shout out, the Legends Group 299. Please, if you haven't already, go ahead, become a member, ask a question, double entries to these bad boys. But good night, good day, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. Catch you next time.